Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host, Mitch. Glad to have you here. So there are thousands upon thousands of cards in Magic, and some are considered by many to be jank. But what exactly does jank mean? Jank means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, so I brought in an expert on jank today to help me. So joining me on the show today is John. Say hi, John.
How's it going?
It's going good.
I don't know if
you're asking them or me.
I don't know.
Perfect. Well, I'm doing well. I'm sure they are as well. But so John is going to be talking to me about jank. John is from the Quest for the Janklord channel. If you've seen it, great. If you haven't seen it, go check it out right after this episode, not during the episode. That'd be rude. So, but yeah, so John's going to be talking to me today about jank and kind of, the jankiest cards in Magic that actually somehow work. So jank can be bad, jank can be good. We're going to talk about all kinds of jank today. So, but before that, one thing real quick. Just a couple of quick ways you can help support the show. Some of the easiest ways are to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you're hitting that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. Also, make sure that you're subscribing and reviewing for our podcast. It's on most podcast platforms now. You can also follow us on social media at EDH Quarters for Twitter and The Commander's Quarters for Instagram and Facebook. On social media, you're going to be seeing some sneak peeks on future episodes and things I'm working on. Also, when you buy decks or individual cards, make sure that you use our affiliate links. For Deck Tech, you're going to find that in the description with the deck list, or you can just use our general one with bit.ly/Commander's Quarters. Again, if you're already going to be buying those cards anyway, it's just a nice, easy way to help support the channel. You can also check out our playmats and merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. And the final way that you can support the show is by becoming a patron at patreon.com/commandersquarters. There are different patron tiers and rewards, so make sure you check that out. And again, I really couldn't thank all my patrons enough for all they've done for me. I really wouldn't be here doing all this today if it wasn't for their incredible support. Okay, so John is my guest, and John, many people might have seen you from Quest for the Janklord, but for people who haven't and do not know about your channel and don't know about yourself and your background, why don't you tell them a little bit?
Yeah, so I started playing Magic in, I believe, 2009, 2010, the Zendikar era.
That's a good time to get into it.
Yeah. It had just come out. I saw that people were flipping boxes online. You open the cards, and I'm like, I could make money off of a cool card game that I know nothing about. So I bought the box, and I didn't make any money off of it. I did sell a couple of the cards, like the fetches, which I lament now. But I had a friend that taught me how to play. He built a couple of the decks from the box and had a bunch of monocolored Zendikar fun, which was really great.
That's great.
Yeah, I've been on and off, I guess. Mostly on, but I started with standard, as most people do. Kitchen top, that kind of stuff. I didn't start playing Commander until the Khans of Tarkir block.
Oh, gotcha.
So people would always tell me, go play Commander. It's the best thing. You got to make a Commander deck.
60
I'm like,
cards is good, but 100?
Yeah, it's too much.
It just takes it up another level.
It's weird. Commander, it's not real Magic. But, so finally, me and Joe decided to embark on the adventure together. We had been playing together for a few years.
Sure.
We're like, let's build Commander decks. So I built Bruna.
Nice.
And he built, was it Omnath? No, I can't remember.
Oh, well, it must not have been very good.
No, it was good. It's still his favorite. I think it was Omnath was his first one. Now, Joe, I'm really sorry because I should remember this. But we played together, and of course our first decks were just terrible.
Sure,
but it was fun because it's cards we hadn't played with before, and it was really great. So I've been doing Commander ever since, and I kind of slowly weaned myself off of standard.
Yeah.
And here we are. We have a jank channel now, it's pretty great.
Yes, you do. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, man.
Again, if you haven't seen Quest for the Janklord yet, wait till this episode's over, then go check it out. Check this out first, though.
I mean, you could pause.
No, don't pause. Don't pause. No pauses.
Don't pause. I'm kidding.
All right, well, skipping ahead now. All right, so the main topic for today is going to be jankiest cards that actually work. So there's plenty of janky cards out there that don't really work. You've got like your Hill Giants. It's a 3/3 for 4. It's never going to be good in any format ever. No offense, Hill Giant.
Vanilla doesn't really work.
I guess that might not even be jank technically. You're the one who has to do the definition. So basically, you are the expert on the jank here, right? You're part of the Quest for the Janklord channel. Jank is in your name, right?
Jank is our name, yes.
How would you define jank? What does jank mean?
I would say that jank is mostly going to be represented by the cards that aren't seen in mainstream play.
Sure.
So an example could be that it used to be that you had your mana doublers like no, I can't think of mana doublers, like Mana Reflection.
Sure.
And the jank card was Zendikar Resurgent, which is actually a phenomenal card, and now it's caught on.
Sure, kind of like a lesser version of other cards.
Lesser versions of other cards, or you could say that it's price restriction, which is exactly what we do.
Yep.
Any card that's 79 cents or less is our rule on our channel, and that just puts it in the affordability range, and you have to get creative.
Gotcha. So no Wayfarer's Bauble for you guys.
Unfortunately.
That is unfortunate.
Or fortunately.
Hey. I guess it's not. It is definitely not a jank card.
No, it's not. It's so good.
But yeah, so kind of like, I think that's a fantastic definition for jank. I think the only thing that I would add to that that I kind of perceive jank to be, it's like a card that like you when you first see it, you're like, what is this? Like, and like it doesn't, like, you don't feel like it has a place anywhere, and you're like, why would I ever use this card? And then you like find like a specific deck, you're like, wait, this is one of the best cards in this deck, just randomly. It's not good in other decks, but it's like really good in this one, or just certain situations kind of. Like, and yeah, it's again a cheap card that people aren't really using. It flies under the radar. Exactly. Like that's kind of like how I perceive jank. Everyone's got a different definition of jank, but we're going to tackle 10 cards today that we each consider 5 each to be a jank card that is actually good, that you actually can use in your commander decks, or not decks necessarily, but a commander deck can use it and use it effectively. So, John, why don't you start us off with your first one today?
So my first pick was Circle of Protection, and I wrote down red/green because I think those are the two most effective ones. But I think they're all very good playable cards.
Okay, so what do so for the people who are watching, do you mind reading those off real quick?
Circle of Protection is an enchantment for 1 and a white. I believe they're all 1 and a white.
Yep, I think so.
Maybe with the exception of artifacts.
I think so for the color, the monocolor ones are each the same cost, I believe.
Exactly.
Yep.
They're cheap enchantments, and they read pay 1. The next time a red source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage.
Okay, and so that's replaced by any whatever colors. You're saying that red and green are probably the two that are more useful than the others. But yes.
Exactly. Yep. So preventing damage isn't necessarily seen as like a good thing to do in Magic these days. It's like there's ways to gain life, and life gain has synergies, and why would you prevent the damage if you could make it work better?
Just gain it instead, sure.
Yeah.
Kind of a niche corner case, or like a ghostly prison effect where you're like, just don't let them attack you at all.
Exactly, yeah. Why would you put in a Circle of Protection? But I think, like you said, it's kind of if you can't afford a ghostly prison.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a great alternative.
It can definitely be a great alternative, and it's something that can, it can definitely like kind of take out the biggest threat to you and potentially incentivize them to swing elsewhere at that threat. If someone's got a big dragon and you've got Circle Protection red out, you can just pay 1 to essentially blank that attack.
Exactly.
So they might as well use that attack elsewhere on someone else. So it could just be even a deterrent like Ghostly Prison is.
That was almost exactly one of my
I read your bulleted point and I was like, I'm just going to take this from so I sound smart.
No, that's really good. The deterrent aspect is huge. It's huge. I think in a lot of I love cards in general that have that deterrent factor or that make you play in a way that you wouldn't normally, maybe suboptimally.
Absolutely.
And I think that Circle of Protections are a really great way to do that.
It's something that can really throw someone off too, since it is kind of a jank card. People aren't expecting that to come out. It's
exactly
like the Spanish Inquisition, or just kind of you never expect the Circle of Protection. Just randomly comes out. And they're like, "What in the world? You're playing that?" And you're like, "Yes, I am."
And you're gonna like it,
exactly.
Or not.
Well, and that another thing that with the circles too that can be good, and this is kind of a deck that I've been thinking in my head. I'm trying to find the right commander for it and whatnot. But like, if you're going for like, let's say a group slug deck, like a Mogus deck, again, that doesn't work with the circles because it's Rakdos versus. But if you're going for some kind of a group slug deck where you're basically just dealing a ton of damage out to everyone each turn, and you've got a way to prevent the damage to yourself or other kinds of effects, then you're essentially blanking that and you're making a non-symmetrical effect. So if you've got, again, a deck where you're just basically dealing out a ton of damage, potentially like a Firesong Sunspeaker, but actually you're just gaining life anyway. Ignore that one. But essentially, if you've got a deck that you're looking to deal a lot of damage and you're going to be hitting yourself too, prevent it. So it's just a nice, cheap, easy way to do it.
Nothing feels better than blanking a Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Yeah, that is true.
Nothing feels better.
You might need a lot of mana depending on how many creatures they have.
That's true.
But still, you might be disincentivizing. If they can't kill you with that attack, they might swing at other people and leave you alone.
Absolutely. That deterrent effect.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
you got your $40 Crater Hoof Behemoth or your 10-cent circle.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Let's move on to my first one then real quick, which I should have memorized, but I need to read my sheet real quick. I'm going to say this wrong because I always do. Chronomantic Escape. Chronomantic, that's the word. Okay, so Chronomantic Escape is my first jank pick that I think is actually a good card and can belong in actually a decent amount of decks, I think. So it is a sorcery that costs 4 white. It says, until your next turn, creatures can't attack you. Remove Chronomantic Escape from the game with 3 time counters on it, and it's got Suspend 3 for 2 and a white. So basically, it's like a better Ghostly Prism for that one turn, because people can't pay, to attack you. You just can't be attacked for that full turn.
Yeah.
If you want to get out early, you can just, suspend it for 3, and then 3 turns later, they can't attack you. And then after it's cast, it suspends again on its own, and essentially every single 3 turns, no one can attack you.
Yeah, that really messes up people's timing.
It really does. And people kind of have to consider that.
Exactly.
Well, the first time they're not going to see it coming because, it's not a heavily played card.
Right.
So, people might be like, okay, I'm going to plan on attacking Mitch next turn. And then I played that, and they can't at all. And they have to say, okay, I have to reevaluate. Do I attack someone else, or do I just not attack? You really throw a wrench in people's plans when you play something like this that just says you can't be attacked, essentially. It's kind of like I'm not going to say it's Teferi's protection, but it's essentially you're out of the game. You're just not there for attacks.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a lot of times people don't necessarily consider once you get down to the 1 versus 1 game too, and messing up every third turn.
Yes,
in that 1 versus 1, that's
absolutely.
Woo.
Well, and then you can kind of save your other responses, like maybe you have an Illusionist Gambit or something else, depending on whatever deck you're in. You can save those for the turns in between. You don't need that fog effect every single turn, but kind of every third turn you're essentially safe.
Exactly.
Basically.
Absolutely.
And so, this works great in a couple different decks that I played before. Feldergriff, I love Feldergriff. It is a great one to basically say, I'm just going to sit here, make hippos, and no one can attack me, every third turn, essentially. And you've got plenty of other ways to kind of the Illusionist Gambits. You've got Aetherize. You've got things to essentially disincentivize attacking on other turns, but then that once every third turn, you're protected. Another one is if you so Selenia is another one of my favorite decks. And that one I've kind of tuned down a little bit with the number of wraths I had. I think I had 14 wraths in it or something like that. So people don't exactly like that. Some people don't. So I've tuned it down and switched in the Chronomantic Escape. So if you need kind of a replacement effect to say I have a deck where I'm running a ton of wraths because I want to protect myself, maybe tune it down for different groups depending on what their tolerance is for wraths.
Yes, absolutely. Too many wraths can make a game.
People like their creatures, so when you keep blowing them up, some people don't like that necessarily. So, yeah. It's a good alternative card for certain decks, and it's just a good card in other ones, too. So, consider it. It is a jank card, but it is a jank card that actually works, in my opinion. Okay. John, your next one. Go for it.
My next card is one of my new favorite cards that I recently discovered. Yeah. In building a Crick deck, or a Keurig deck, as I recently heard.
Yeah, and there's a lot of debate on that name.
A lot of debate, but I heard Keurig is correct.
I keep hearing back and forth, and Wizard said this. It's well, yeah.
What is Wizards?
We need a pronunciation guide,
Wouldn't that be great? The back of a Tolkien book.
Oh
yeah.
There you go.
So it's called Soldevi Adnate.
Okay, and for the people who don't know what that one is, do you mind reading it real quick?
Yes. So this is a fun one. It is a black cleric creature. It's 1 colorless and a black. It's a 1/2.
Yep.
And I'm circling around things a lot. You can tap it and sacrifice a black or artifact creature to add an amount of black mana equal to that creature's casting cost to your mana pool.
So you're essentially saying, okay, I've got whatever creature this is, either a black or an artifact creature, I can sacrifice it and I get whatever their mana is, or their casting cost, and I can add that. So that can be a lot.
And it's black mana.
Yeah,
it's not just colorless mana.
That's fantastic. Usually mana dork's what you see in green, right? But I guess black's got another one that's somewhat similar to this as well. Priest of Yawgmoth or something like that. But yeah.
There's a few that sacrifice themselves, like Basil Thrall. Yep. It sacrifices itself and adds a couple mana.
But yeah, it's fantastic. Like a quick ramp, though. Very quick ramp.
Oh, my goodness. It gets out of hand real quick. It goes really well in those reanimator strategies.
Oh, yeah.
That you're already wanting to sacrifice things and get them back with enter the battlefield effects or what have you, death effects, all that stuff. You
sacrifice your Gary, you get 5 mana, you cast a reanimation spell, you get Gary back, you know?
Exactly. It can be a loop. It can be a really nice loop. So reassembling skeleton, I believe it's just an automatic. Well, no, because you don't untap.
You don't untap. But yeah,
just kidding.
You essentially get it. You can sacrifice it and pay for it to get it back, though. So you at least, I mean, if you're in an aristocrat style deck where you're sacrificing things and getting value, you can just essentially get it for free. Exactly. Sacrifice and bring back. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
That's fantastic.
I know that Crick isn't necessarily a jank style commander.
No, I would not say that it is a jank. It is a very powerful broken commander.
Very powerful.
Phyrexian is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, I mean, when you think about dropping this on turn 2, playing something for 3 mana and just getting an extra 3 mana back to do whatever you want. You're getting 6 mana's worth.
If that's a Cathodian, you get an extra 3 on top of that too. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think it's one of the best ramp cards, period.
It's very quick.
And it's in black, in a color that you wouldn't necessarily expect ramp to be in.
Absolutely.
Which is super fun to pull out.
Absolutely. It can be very quick and kind of come out of nowhere. And really, like, I mean, in the decks that already want to sacrifice things, it's just giving you extra value for doing that.
Exactly.
It's fantastic. It can lead to some really quick turns too. Like, I mean, yeah, I think I might have had that in my initial Yargle deck, just because like you can get Yargle out super quick in the right situation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, well, for my next one, it's gonna be another black card, and this one's gonna be Head Games, which is a sorcery that costs 3 black. It says target opponent puts the cards from their hand on top of their library. Then you search that player's library for that many cards. The player puts those cards into their hand, then shuffles their library. So essentially, you're taking the cards in your hand, you're putting it into their library, and you're replacing them with whatever you want from their library. So this can be used in a lot of different ways and a lot of fun ways. So the first one is essentially, let's say John's got, he's just been drawing a ton of cards throughout the game. He's way ahead of everyone else, and he's got the perfect 7 cards in his hand. I cast Head Games, I target John, and I say, look at these great cards in your hand. Okay, they're going away, and here are 7 lands. You get 7 lands. You essentially don't have a hand at a certain point. Like, you know, at a certain point in the game, like a land is a dead card in your hand.
Yes.
Like, and so you essentially just don't have a hand. Like, you can just take whatever is least beneficial to that person at that time. If they're mana screwed, you go and get no lands, and you bring them cards that they can't cast that cost 9 mana.
It is exactly as effective as saying discard your whole hand.
100%. And like, so that's only like half the way that you can use it. So that's, I mean, I think there's a black sorcery, forgive me, but I cannot remember what it's called. I'll put it up on the screen, I'm sure, but it's basically target opponent discards their hand. It costs 7 mana. So, but this is a 5 mana version of it, essentially.
Yep.
And the other way that you can use it is kind of more political way, which is actually kind of not the mean way, mean way. But, if you, let's say that John, again, is way ahead of everyone else, and I'm working with someone else to say, okay, John's got just like 85 creatures on the board. I don't have a Wrath in my hand, but I do have Head Games, and you're going before John, so I'm going to target you with it. I'll get you a card you want, and then I'm going to also get you one of your Wraths, and then, we'll make some kind of a deal where, okay, like, you're going to wipe the board. I know you got a Wrath in your deck. You're going to help everyone. You're going to wipe the board. I'll give you a card or 2 that you want to in this whole deal or whatnot, but it's a flexible political card.
Super political.
Yeah, and it can really turn the tables on someone who's way ahead.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, yeah, you might not be tutoring your own stuff, but yeah, making that deal and tutoring for anything that you want out of someone else's deck.
You essentially are tutoring. I mean, it's kind of like goodness gracious, what's that 1 mana black one? I can't think of it. It's just like
vampiric tutor.
No, yeah, not vampiric. It's the one where you and another opponent.
Symmetric scheming.
Yes, that one. Yes, thank you. So yeah, it's like that, kind of like a mini version of that. Essentially, you don't get a card, but
I think it's a better version of
you're essentially basically saying like, okay, like I will do this for you if you go and get this certain card that's going to help us. But essentially, you're making them cast that too. Like you're not putting any extra resources into that. You're saying like, okay, you're going to cast this Wrath for us, and it's going to help me out. I'm not having to cast it.
Exactly.
So it's just a very flexible political card. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't belong in every deck, but like one that it really works well in is Send Triplets, which is everyone's favorite deck. But essentially, Send Triplets like allows you to play with an opponent's hand, essentially. And so like with Head Games, you're basically tutoring up exactly what you want to cast from their deck into their hand. So lots of fun.
It sounds like exactly my kind of card.
Like a good time for everyone involved. There's never been anyone who's been upset about playing against Ascend triplets.
I consider myself blessed that I've never played with or against Ascend triplets.
We will find a way to change that. Someone in the comments be like, meet me at this game shop, and I will show you the way of Ascend triplets. All right, your next card. My next card is Aqueous Form.
Okay,
what's that one do?
This one I know by heart.
All right.
It's an enchantment for 1 blue. It says when the enchanted creature attacks, you scry 1, and it's also can't be blocked.
Okay, perfect. That seems like a lot of value for 1 mana.
So much value for 1 mana. I think people tend to shy away from Voltron strategies.
Sure.
Especially with blue in them.
Yep.
But I mean, if you saw the last episode of Game Nights, if you saw the last episode of Quest for the Janklord, where I happened to win, it was attached to Intet the Dreamer.
Oh.
And I mean, that's a wombo combo in itself.
Yeah.
A wombo
Set
combo
the top of your life.
by my standards.
Wombo combo in a 79 cents or less meta. Yeah, where you're scrying off the top. You're saying, do I want to cast this for free or not? Essentially, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yep. So you get that scry. You say, do I want this? Do I not?
And can't be blocked. Yeah, for 1 mana is a very good deal. I think potentially the reason why people may shy away from this card potentially is because it's an aura, right? And that might be kind of why it's undervalued. But still, I mean, it's a ton of value and for what it is.
I think that that you could liken it to that it's a 1 mana that says 1 mana sorcery that says target creature can't be blocked this turn.
Sure.
I mean, it's only 1 mana.
Yeah,
if you only get 1 turn out of it.
Yeah, if you get one turn out of it, you get a free, coming through, and then also a scry too. So I mean,
exactly. Yeah, I think it's a lot of value. I put it in my Narset deck.
Oh gosh,
my non-jank is starting to show through here.
Okay, you play that against Ascend triplets deck.
There
you guys
go.
both have a lot of fun.
We'll do that. Extra turns versus play your stuff. Yeah. So when I was constructing Narset, I was like, what are her problems? Well, she dies in combat.
Yep.
Super easily. Well, what's the way to avoid that? You can make her indestructible, which costs a lot of money, or you can make her unblockable.
That's true. And the scry helps even more than
And then the scry helps you with getting the right 4 cards off the top of your library.
Is this an extra turn spell? Nope. Oh, no. Bottom.
Bottom. Is it a land? Yes, bottom. So I really like it. It's a little situational.
Because, it definitely can be.
Because it tends toward that Voltron style of deck. But I do think that it for 1 mana, it's unblockable.
It's hard to beat the value for that 1 mana for an aura.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I like the pick.
Awesome.
All right. My next pick is I'd say similar just because it's the exact same mana cost and it's also an enchantment in blue. So it's Telepathy. Telepathy is an enchantment that costs a blue and it says your opponents play with their hands revealed. It's a very simple enchantment, and actually, the episode that I was on for Quest for the Janklord, I can't remember who dropped this, but someone played it very early, which on a gameplay channel is quite nerve-wracking because you're like, okay, now everyone in the comments gets to see my hand.
Yes,
and they're going to be like, Mitch, you really messed up on that play right there.
Yes.
So you're basically playing like World Tour, like poker, like where everyone, can see your cards, and they're like, oh yeah, he definitely did the wrong move there.
The worst move they could have made.
I can't believe he did that. What in the world?
Play mistakes.
Exactly. But no, I mean, outside of gameplay channels, the Telepathy is a fantastic card because it's a very low investment for a kind of a big payoff, in my opinion. I mean, you can get that down turn 1 and immediately you know what everyone else's potential plans are. And so do your opponents. They don't know yours, though. So
exactly,
you are revealing so much information from everyone else. And basically, if people don't know kind of what someone else's deck is trying to do, like it's pretty easy to figure it out after a couple turns of just seeing what cards they're drawing and what cards they have in their hand and what they're doing, essentially.
I think information is one of the most valuable things in Magic.
100%. And this gives you so much information for 1 mana, and it stays on the field. And it's hard to deal with because enchantments are just hard to deal with for most colors.
Exactly.
So, it makes politicking very hard for opponents because they can't lie. Like they can't be like, oh, I'm not gonna do anything. I don't have any responses for that. Like, it makes it so that, essentially everyone else is playing oh goodness, like just at a disadvantage compared to you. Where like you can hide what you're doing, they can't.
Extra fair magic.
Extremely fair magic.
Extra fair.
Exactly. And then also kind of in some decks too, you know exactly what you need to hold up your responses for. So if you see someone else has this kind of detrimental card to you, you're like, okay, I've got a counterspell, I'll just hold that off.
Absolutely.
You know, where I've got, a bounce spell, I'll wait until they play that, then I'll bounce it back to their hand.
Exactly.
It just makes it makes playing your game a lot easier and making your opponent's game a lot harder. And for 1 mana for blue, it's hard to beat that.
I mean, it's perfect information.
It is perfect
Aside
information.
from the top of your opponent's library.
There's some cards that do that too. So just add those in. Just know everything.
Just know it all. Be the ultimate blue player.
Absolutely. Yeah, so some decks that this works really well in, or it's like a Talran deck would be a good place for it, because a Talran deck that's focusing on counterspells. Because again, like all you're doing essentially is holding up, 20 counterspells in your deck, and you're just like kind of waiting to know exactly what you need to use those for. This gives you that perfect information that, okay, John's got, this board wipe, which I don't want to blow up my Drakes, so, I'm just going to wait for that, and I'll counter it with this easy counterspell. So
absolutely.
It lets you plan ahead.
Even beyond that, you can know which ones you want to counter and which ones you might want to use a summary dismissal and exile.
Yes.
What's the can't be countered counterspell? 2 blue and a red?
Counterflux. Yeah.
Counterflux. Yep. We see that a lot.
Yep.
But you can just leave up your summary dismissal.
You hold up the perfect one, or exactly.
Yeah. Perfect information is perfect.
It's a great thing. And again, like low investment. It's nice and easy. So start adding it to your decks. Unless you're playing in a gameplay episode against me, then don't add to your deck, because I will come after you so I can get you out of the game, and so no one can see my hand to see what I screw up. So all right. Okay, now that's over. Next card. What do you got?
Oh man. Well, the next one is going to be really good at dealing with these enchantments.
Oh, no.
that we say are so difficult to get rid of.
What is that one then?
So it's called Tranquil Grove, and it is 1 and a green for an enchantment. And it's the text says you can pay 1 and a green, so 3 mana total to destroy all other enchantments.
Wait, did you say other?
All other
enchantments. So Tranquil Grove just stays on the board.
And remember how I said I like to play cards that deter other people from doing things and make people play in a disadvantageous way.
Sure, yeah, very inefficient way.
This is about the ultimate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Card.
Go ahead. Yeah. Put your Ghostly Prison down. Waste your 3 mana.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're playing an Enchantress deck, what do you put down? Nothing. You're essentially out of the game until you can find
a way to get rid of that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Repeatable board wipe for enchantments.
Repeatable. Yeah. It is something else. And not only that, it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's low mana investment, and you can put it down turn 2.
Yep.
But I think most of the time what you're going to do is wait till you have 5 mana.
Sure.
So you can put it down and then use it the first time.
Yep.
But if you're playing against an Enchantress deck, you could put it down turn 2.
Oh yeah, and just say like, this is my deterrent. Yeah.
Now you're shut off until you find that banishing stroke.
Or start making some deals with me.
Yeah. Exactly. Start making some deals. Yeah. Absolutely.
You go swing at Timmy over there and just take him out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that card actually.
It's a doozy.
In an if you know one of your friends plays an enchantment heavy kind of deck, like that is just a good one just to throw in there and be like, hey, how's it going?
Last I knew it was like 40 cents on TCG Player. So there you go.
Not anymore.
Probably not anymore. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Repeatable effects too. I think I'm just a sucker for repeatable effects.
Sure.
When I go for a card, I like to pick out the ones that in Commander specifically you can go over and over and over and over again and keep going with it.
Yeah, target removal is good in certain situations, but kind of those repeatable constant effects are just, they can be detrimental against certain decks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my SRAM deck would not like that. So fantastic. I like the pick. Okay, so back to a black card.
More black cards.
Apparently, black cards
black jank.
Apparently, I guess we should do an episode where we just like rank the jankiest colors. And at this point, apparently, black has 3 cards in it. So apparently, it is winning at this point, or losing, depending on your view on jank. Okay, so the card is Cruel Entertainment. It is a sorcery for 6 and a black. It says, choose target player and another target player. The first player controls the second player during the second player's next turn, and the second player controls the first player during the first player's next turn. So basically, this is a 2 people get to control each other's turns card.
Yes.
So, you got like Mindslaver is a card where you're gaining control of someone else's turn. This one, you're actually positioning two people to gain control of each other's. You're probably not going to be targeting yourself because the other person's going to get to go before you in most situations, and they're just going to destroy whatever you have.
Yes.
But this card, you might kind of see it in this. Some people, and this is completely fine, there's going to be arguments against this card. Go ahead and comment. That's fine. The argument against this card is like, okay, well, each player is just going to say like, oh, no, okay, let's just be nice to each other. Okay, you have control of my turn. I've got control of your turn. Let's just be nice to each other. We're not going to screw things up. We're just going to keep going forward, and we're going to be fine. Like, this is going to be great. This is how it's going to work. Never turns out that way.
Never.
Essentially, especially once someone sees someone else's hand, that really changes things. Even if they had like a previous like, oh, let's just be nice about this and we'll be fine. You see someone's hand, you're like, this person can win next turn if I do nothing. So that is not happening.
Yes.
But yeah, so basically what's going to happen is either the first one's going to decide to say, I'm going to blow up everything this person has by making all the wrong decisions. And then the second person has no reason not to, essentially.
Exactly.
Or the first person decides not to, and then there's no disincentive for the next person not to do that. And so the second person's like, well, I know you were nice to me, but
I see what you got going on.
I see what you got going on here, so it's just going to go away. So yeah, you're making all the wrong decisions when it comes to attacking and casting things. Some of my favorite plays really quick that I've seen with this. Mere Entity is a bad thing to have on the board when someone else has control of your turn.
Ooh.
Because Mere Entity says pay X until your next turn. Creatures you control have power, toughness, XX, and gain all creature types. Oof. You can choose 0 for X. Oof. So all their creatures just go away.
Poof.
Poof. Yep. For no investment.
There is something about controlling a turn that feels so good for the person doing it and so bad. Mirror Entity is one of those things that makes
that is a fun
one.
You
don't always think about like Mindslaver locks and or whatever.
Not at all. And and Mirror Entity is a fantastic card except when someone has control of your turn.
Exactly.
Another fantastic card that I've seen as well on controlling turns too that really can just take someone out is Necropotence.
Ooh.
If you have Necropotence either in your hand or on the field and someone is taking control of your turn, they are going to either cast Necropotence and activate it until you are dead, or they'll just, if it's already out, activate it and you're dead. Like,
absolutely.
It's a fantastic card, but when someone says your turn, it's just, you automatically lose. So
absolutely.
Some fun things can happen with that kind of stuff, again, where you give those two players information on each other that they don't want anyone else to know, and it just really throws a wrench into everyone's plans, and it's just a lot of fun to kind of see some of the craziest plays I've seen just go down. Like, even a simple thing like, someone cast this against me in switch turns, and I maybe wasn't too nice to the person after I saw what their hand was, and they weren't going to be nice to me, and I knew it was going to happen. I was playing Feldergriff, and they just bounced Feldergriff back to my hand, drew a couple cards, and then at the end of the turn, discarded Feldergriff into my graveyard, and then I've got to find a way to recur it. So it's just like you can do some very simple things that really can mess with a deck. Like, all you do is attack with someone's commander and choose for it to go into the graveyard. Yep. And a lot of decks are just in big trouble.
They can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very fun. It's a card that, again, it's not for every deck, but I'd say like a political deck like Queen Marchesa could use this card kind of just to kind of be like, yeah, let's make some deals. Let's make some things happen. Like it's not for every situation, but it can be a lot of fun, and it can be a powerful card and can really turn a game on its head.
I think it's also one of those cards that it scales up with the more janky a deck is.
Sure, yeah.
So there's all the CEDH. We talk about the difference between that and like normal tabletop, whatever commander. And I think that this is one of those cards that may not be as fun in a CEDH type of environment, or it may not perform as well. It's not going to work in a CEDH environment. It might not perform as well. Exactly. Yeah. But in like this jank type of environment, it's just going to get exponentially
even
more
a
fun.
Casual environment, like not necessarily just playing with jank, but
exactly.
in a casual environment where you're not playing CEDH, it can really. I've seen it in normal circumstances, just turn games on its head. It's a lot of fun.
Exactly.
It's a fun card, and it can be powerful in the right situation. So yeah, consider it.
Yes, I have been known to pray to the god of chouse from time to time.
Well, then you should be considering Cruel Entertainment, because it truly does live up to its name. All right, I believe this is actually your last card. Here we go.
This is my last pick. It is a card that I fell in love with when I first started playing Magic.
Okay.
Because I loved Red Burn.
Okay.
It's called Fire Servant.
Okay, and what does this one do?
This is a 4/3 for 5 mana, 3 and 2 red.
Okay.
And it has a very simple effect.
Okay.
It doubles red sorcery and instance damage.
That seems very simple, but very effective in the right deck.
Very. If a red instant or sorcery spell you control would deal damage, it deals double that damage instead.
Makes them doubly effective. So yeah, like generally, like in standard and other formats, some quick like burn decks are going to be effective, right? Commander, it's not nearly as effective, but if you find ways to kind of like this, like double it up, or just like really kind of dig into that, like a Firesong and Sunspeaker deck, like. Ooh. You can make it a very powerful thing. I think people really undervalue kind of damage spells just because of the Commander format and because you start with a higher life total. But if you find ways that can kind of scale it,
I think doubling anything is so powerful. I mean, mana doublers, whatever. I think doubling anything is super powerful. You pair this with like a Pyromancer Ascension. Now you're dealing quadruple.
Yes.
I guess that wouldn't work in our format because it. Yes, but quest for the quest for Pure Flame.
Yep, sure.
That
or
also
or
deals
Torb that
damage.
adds damage to it as well.
Torbrand. I think we were talking in a Torbrand deck. You have this and Torbrand out, and the shock becomes 8 damage for 1 mana.
That math checks out. I don't like playing decks that involve math, but I think that checks out.
That math does check out, and it's so powerful, and it's just fun. I think spell slinging is fun, and I think that that this card in the Commander format, it makes it makes the red spells have reach.
Sure,
it gives it reach that it needs.
Sure,
in order to really perform. And like you said in Firesong and Sunspeaker, now not only are you doubling the damage that you deal,
you're gaining double the life.
Double the life.
Sheesh, yep.
And it gets out of hand really quick.
It definitely can. Yeah, that's
mana doubler.
Okay, so Wizards, we need more red things that double up things because just do that. Print more things. Thank you.
Exactly.
Perfect. Awesome. I like the pick. Okay, my last pick, and I think people might argue if this is actually a jank card or not. I'll give my reasoning for it, and you can make your own determination. That's completely fine with me.
I agree with you.
That's the only opinion I care about because he's the expert on jank. So.
Expert, I don't know.
Expert on jank. That's he's got a business card that says expert on jank.
I do have one printed out.
It's perfect. Okay, so Unexpected Results is my last pick. It is a sorcery that costs 2 green blue. It says shuffle your library, then reveal the top card. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield and return Unexpected Results to its owner's hand. So essentially, if you whiff, you ramp, and then you get to do it again. I mean, you get to recast it, but if you whiff, you ramp, and you get it back, and you can do it again. Now, this isn't going to work out in every single deck, obviously. You don't want to run in a deck that's just running a bunch of low-to-the-ground things. Like, okay, I cheated out a Cultivate. Great.
I think that's exactly what makes it a jank card.
Yes, because it's a chance. I mean, it's essentially what, or like Urza's ability, the pay 5, shuffle your library, get the sum of the top right. It's essentially that, but just on a card. And so, it can be very good in the right deck, but you need the right deck for it. So
absolutely.
You get your decks that, like a Joda deck or a Golos deck, where you're looking to just cast really big things. Mm-hmm. So you have a higher percentage chance of hitting a bomb just off the top. This isn't necessarily a budget card, but if you're playing Omniscience and you hit this with that, you just won the game right there from casting a 4 mana card.
Absolutely.
Essentially, you can even turn 3. In most metas. Maybe in certain metas, turn 2. But turn 2 Omniscience, and this is the game.
There you go. Have fun with
exactly. But again, it's not going to work in every single deck. So don't just try to throw it in any kind of Simic deck. But in the decks that that you're running a ton of big expensive spells. In a Golos deck, you've got a lot of extra turn spells. You hit an extra turn spell that just paid for itself, essentially, just because it did that. It's a very fun card, because the excitement of getting that random card off the top.
Exactly. I think that there's something to be said about the randomness of a card.
Yes.
And the fun factor.
Yes. Except for Chaos. Warp World, that does not. That you might enjoy that. I don't know if that's kind of your.
I do enjoy Warped World.
Yeah, no, I do not. I don't like playing against that. No, I'm like, hey, and you just win because I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes.
Yes. One of my favorite decks is a mono red Chaos.
Remind me never to play that. If I ever see you pull out a mono red deck and be like, I gotta leave. My wife's calling. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah.
I chose Urabrask just because he's red legendary.
That's
funny. The only reason.
That's pretty funny. Okay, if I ever see that, I will walk away. I will walk away. It is not happening. But yeah, Unexpected Results, I think a lot of fun. I wouldn't necessarily say it's underrated, but it is kind of a janky card. It's not for every deck, but it can be. Try it out. And if you've got a deck that's got a lot of high CMC things, even like a like a sea monsters deck, kind of like a Rixmathes. If you just got like a plethora of giant sea monsters, you just randomly hit one that costs 10 off the top, and you're pretty happy about that. So
Eldrazi, Simic
Eldrazi, yep. You hit your Emrakul Promise End up the top, and you're like, yep, that's a thing.
One thing I've noticed about this card is you always want to cast it main phase 1.
That would probably make sense.
Because you can hit that Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yep, yep. If you hit something with an ETB that's important before combat, or
absolutely,
yeah, or even like yeah. So just
hasters or
exactly,
absolutely.
exactly. So I mean, know your deck, but yeah, if it does necessitate casting early, then cast it phase 1.
I suppose it does depend on the deck that you're building, but
it's not a hard and set rule.
In the decks that I build, I would definitely cast this main phase 1.
Well, I trust you are the king of Jank
the
again.
King of Jank,
king of this card. Trust him.
Joe is the king of this card. He's our local unexpected results player.
Oh really?
So,
okay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
any no questions, please bug Joe.
Exactly. Yep.
Sounds good. Okay. We're gonna take a quick break before we get on to our next segment. Okay, and now for our subtopic of the day, which is going to be price restriction. So, price restriction, you might see restriction. That sounds like a bad thing, but restriction actually can be a very good thing. So, you can really spice up kind of how you build decks by kind of giving yourself some restrictions. So, I started off by building budget decks, $25 or less, and that was my restriction. A recent couple of episodes of mine have been Crushing Quarters, which is a 25-cent restriction per card, which kind of makes me dig even further into, okay, like I really need to kind of limit what kind of cards I can use. Like I only have a certain pool of cards, and you're finding more and more cards that like you might not think work with a certain deck, and then you kind of really dig into it, and you're like, oh, it actually really works. And I actually kind of drew inspiration from that. Actually, I stole it from these guys, from Quest of the Janklord, because they build their decks with a 79-cent or less restriction per card. And so like, I really have enjoyed kind of doing this. And so, John, have you found that you've been enjoying building within that restriction? Then, like, do you find that also kind of restriction breeds that creativity that you enjoy?
It absolutely does. It was when we first started doing this. I think Dan talked about it on the last episode a little bit, in that our games kind of became an arms race.
Sure.
And me and Joe had I have kind of an extensive collection.
Sure.
Just because I've been playing for a long time, and
I have many leather-bound books.
I spend way too much money on Magic the Gathering, and the newer players in our group just hadn't.
Sure.
So we came up with this 79-cent rule arbitrarily, just because it seemed like some of the cards that really started making an impact.
Sure.
Cut off at that 80-cent.
Got you.
Spot, or 75 cents. Yeah. So we get some of those.
You get like a tiny bit, just
tiny
bit, yeah.
Those little treats here and
the
there.
Ones that stick within the 4 cents right there. You're like,
exactly, but they do. But
yeah, like Factor Fiction probably, like before it was reprinted.
That is like, exactly
right
yes. Yep, that is exactly
the Factor
one
Fiction
of them.
cutout.
Oh, I forget the other one that we put in every one of our decks. No,
that's overpriced.
And
reprint whatever that card is. Reprint
whatever.
Wizards.
Think about what I'm thinking. Yes.
Reprint Wayfarer's Bauble so they can use it again, please.
Exactly. Yes, we need that. Wayfarer's Bauble. It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah. So it began as a necessity.
Yep.
In that me and Joe just had better cards, and it wasn't very fun.
Sure.
I was pulling out Craterhoof Behemoths, and Dan was playing Kalia with like, I don't even know a bad demon card, but there were a lot of them in there. He had some fun cards like Iona.
Sure.
Super fun. A lot of fun. Super fun cards.
It's a lot of fun. I just did an episode on why that shouldn't be banned. So
you know what? I don't disagree with that decision. Yeah, but I also lament the banning of Paradox Engine. So.
I hear you on that as well. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more comments about that as well. People
it's just
potentially disagreeing, which is completely fine.
It's just my opinion.
Fine. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion.
Absolutely.
Just not the people in the comments. Just kidding. Just kidding. That disagree. No, just kidding.
Yeah, so I definitely think it opens my eyes to a lot of cards that I wouldn't necessarily consider.
Yeah.
And it kind of brought me back to that wonderment of when I first started building Commander decks.
Like a whole new format, kind of, essentially.
It is. It really is. And you start digging into your collection, and you find all these weird little enchantments from Scourge, or like 5th edition is one of the best editions for weird jank cards.
Yep.
So it really makes you consider things that you hadn't considered before, and it makes you dig into those little synergies that I don't think that you might consider otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to be finding cards that potentially, some of your friends will be like, oh my goodness, I never knew that card existed. Like, I'm putting this in 3 of my decks now that you found this card.
Like Tranquil Grove.
I like enchantments too much. Please do not put that on all your decks. Oh, it's too funny. All right, Chaos and Tranquil Grove. All right, I've learned a lot about you today.
I am a terrible person.
I have noticed. And now let's to even further on this terrible person trend. Let's go into the card of the day, where my co-host of the day, my guest, brings up a card for whatever reason they want to bring it up. It can be a card that they love. It can be a card they hate. It can be a card that they like the art in. It can be a card that hit random on Scryfall Generator, which I don't believe you did for this one. So why don't you tell everyone what it is?
So this card is called Lethal Vapors. It's 2 and 2 black for an enchantment that says whenever a creature comes into play, destroy it.
Okay, that sounds very nice. Oh, does it have any other text on the card?
It does, unfortunately. It's 0. Mm-hmm. You destroy Lethal Vapors, and you skip your next turn.
Lovely.
Any player may play this ability.
Lovely.
So either it's killing all the creatures that come into the battlefield, which maybe your deck is built to enjoy.
If you've got a creatureless deck, or if you've got a deck where you've got like Mogus, God of Slaughter, who's indestructible and can't be destroyed by it, then you're just saying, you guys can't have creatures, but I can, or don't care about them.
I've noticed it works well in some enter the battlefield reanimator type strategies.
Oh my goodness, yes. You're still getting your ETB, and
exactly.
Yep.
So it's one of those cards that only goes in a few decks.
Sure, yeah.
Or it goes in all your black decks.
Yeah, if you're playing control decks, then that seems pretty brutal against any creature-heavy strategies.
Super brutal. Yeah. And then, I mean, you can, your opponents can destroy it, but it's a high price.
That is a high price
to skip a turn.
Yeah, I mean,
especially in some of the. I mean, I was gonna say especially in some of the later turns, but really skipping a turn anytime is really a hard price to pay.
Kind of with that, like it's kind of like the Rhystic Study issue when you're playing against someone who's got Rhystic Study out. It's like, okay, like you kind of have to determine with the other players, like, are we all going to be paying that essentially? Or like, with this, it's more so like, okay, only one person has to pay it, but like, I don't want to pay it.
Exactly.
I don't want to pay it. I don't want to pay it. You pay it. I don't want to pay it. And so like, you're really kind of like potentially causing problems with the other players with this too, because they're going to be arguing over, well, you should pay this. You're ahead already. Like, skip your turn. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Not only that, I think the flavor is just
it is a pretty cool card. It's a pretty cool card. And it's enchantment from Scourge, right? So all those.
Remember Scourge? How I mentioned that?
That's such a great. I think I came in around Scourge. So it was
Scourge
a fantastic set. That's awesome. Well, I like your pick, okay?
Good.
Not necessarily, good. I don't know if I consider that a jank card. It's just a brutal card.
It's brutal.
It's a brutal card.
Absolutely.
Okay, but now back to the jank. So now it's your turn. And in the comments below, after you say all the mean things about us not wanting those 2 cards banned, please comment and let us know, what is your favorite card that actually works? What is your favorite jank card that actually works? So let us know.
It's probably Paradox Engine.
It's probably Paradox Engine. So, yeah. All right. And remember to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. It really does help the channel. And the podcast is brand new, so if you could subscribe and review, I would really appreciate it. Every little bit helps. And again, make sure you follow us on social media at EDH Quarters on Twitter and at The Commander's Quarters on Facebook and Instagram for some sneak peeks. And again, if you're buying decks or individual cards, make sure you're using our affiliate link, bit.ly/Commander's Quarters. Again, every little bit helps, and if you're already buying the cards, why not help support the channel? Our playmats and merchandise can be found on thecommandersquarters.com, so go ahead and check that out. And finally, again, a big thank you to my patrons. I would not be anywhere near here today if it wasn't for you. If you want to help support the channel, go ahead and check out patreon.com/commandersquarters to see all the different tiers and rewards. All right, and I think that's about all we have for today. And I just have one more question for my guest. Where do I get one of those shirts?
Well, it's on Etsy. It's etsy.com/questforthejanklord.
Okay.
And we have links to it in all of our videos, which I'm sure you'll be looking for.
Well, you guys you're going to be seeing exactly as soon as you're going to watching this and watching all their videos and binging their videos. First, after I get out of here, I'm going to be getting one of those shirts, and you'll probably see me wearing those on some of the episodes as well at some points. But yeah, that thing's
Quest for the Janklord.
Move the mic.
Move the mic. Yes.
Look how cool this is.
I designed this logo myself.
You did?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
You have a lot of talent.
Oh, thank you.
You're a very talented, janky person.
I'm janky. I'll go with that.
That seems like an insult. I'm sorry.
No. I'm janky.
I'm janky.
I don't disagree.
Well, yeah, your business card says King of Jank, right?
Yes, expert in jank.
I think that was just
Yep.
expert in jank. Okay, okay, perfect. All right. So make sure you check out John and the rest of the Janklord crew on Quest for the Janklord. Again, I cannot say enough just how much fun it is to watch their episodes on gameplay. And if you need to, some more extra incentive, watch me just wipe the board with these guys on, I believe, it was episode 5 or 6.
It was pretty brutal.
It was brutal. I think John was the last guy alive, and he thought he had a chance, and then he just did not.
There was no chance.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, make sure you check them out. And yeah, I think that's all we got for today. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, and have a good one.